Hey everyone! Today we're diving into some of the most fascinating Washington quarters from the 1960s. On the surface, these coins might look like normal pocket change, but some of them are extremely rare and valuable. We're going to explore the 1965, 1966, 1967, and 1968 quarters, looking at their history, interesting errors, and how much they can be worth today. Some of these coins can sell for thousands of dollars at auction, while most are just worth their face value of 25 cents. Whether you're a new collector or just curious about old coins, you'll discover why these quarters are so special and why collectors pay close attention to their condition and unique features. First, the 1965 Washington quarter is one of the most talked about coins among new and experienced collectors, even though most of these quarters are actually very common. The year 1965 was the first year the United States Mint switched from 90% silver quarters to quarters made of copper-nickel-clad metal. Because this was a major change in U.S. coin history, many people pay special attention to 1965 quarters. Most of them are worth only their face value of 25 cents, because millions were made and most entered circulation. A regular 1965 quarter found in pocket change or an old coin jar usually shows scratches, wear, and dull surfaces. In this normal condition, the value stays low, sometimes maybe $1 or $2 if the coin looks a little nicer than average. But this changes when a 1965 quarter is found in very high grade, meaning it looks almost perfect with bright luster and almost no marks. A small number of 1965 quarters have been graded by professional coin grading services at extremely high levels, such as MS-68. These coins are extremely rare because almost every 1965 quarter was used by the public and became worn. Only a tiny number were saved in perfect condition. When a 1965 quarter reaches a grade like MS-68, collectors become very interested, and that's why some of these coins have sold for around $11,400. These high-grade sales are real documented auction results. To reach a grade like MS-68, a coin must have outstanding shine, almost no scratches under magnification, and must look exactly as it did the moment it left the mint. Even very small flaws can lower the grade, so the standards are very strict. This is why high-grade examples are so rare and so valuable. Another reason the 1965 quarter can become valuable is because of mint errors. One of the most famous types is a 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet. Planchets are the blank metal discs used to make coins. In 1965, the mint was supposed to stop using silver planchets, and only use the new copper-nickel ones. But a few leftover silver blanks accidentally got mixed in and were stamped with the 1965 design. These rare mistakes created silver 1965 quarters that should not exist. Because they are accidental and extremely limited in number, they are highly desired by collectors. One of these error coins reportedly sold for around $9,300. This value comes from the rarity of the mistake and the excitement collectors have for coins that were not supposed to be made. When trying to identify a silver planchet 1965 quarter, weight is very important. A normal copper-nickel 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver quarter weighs around 6.25 grams. The color and ring of the coin can also be clues. Silver quarters have a brighter shine and do not show the copper-colored edge seen on clad coins. But even with these signs, it is always best to have the coin professionally tested and authenticated, because many people mistake normal coins for silver ones. Authenticity is important because the value of these error coins depends on proving that they were genuinely struck on silver by the mint. In addition to silver planchet errors, some collectors talk about dramatic mint mistakes such as double-tail quarters or broad-struck coins. A double-tail coin would mean both sides show the reverse design, which is extremely unusual and very hard to authenticate. True double-tail coins are extremely rare across all U.S. coins, and many claimed examples turn out to be altered pieces, handmade by someone outside the mint. Because of the rarity and risk of counterfeits, collectors must be very careful, checking weight, thickness, metal layers, and having the coin verified by professionals. Broad-struck coins, on the other hand, happen when the coin is not held correctly in the press, causing the design to spread out wider and look stretched. These errors are real but usually do not reach the extremely high prices that silver planchet errors or top-grade coins do. Their value depends on how dramatic the error looks and the overall condition of the coin. Normal 1965 quarters have no mint mark on them, because the mint removed mint marks during this period due to the national coin shortage. This means the only way to judge value is by grade and errors, not by mint location. Because so many 1965 quarters were produced, finding a rare one is not easy. Most people who think they have a valuable coin usually have a regular one, and only careful inspection will reveal whether anything unusual is present. Many collectors use scales, magnifying glasses, and sometimes even specific lighting to check for mistakes or high-grade qualities. The history of the 1965 quarter also makes it interesting. When silver was removed from U.S. coins, many Americans believed the new clad coins looked cheaper, and some even tried to save older silver coins before they disappeared. The mint worked hard to produce large numbers of the new clad quarters, and because of the rush, some mistakes happened. This period of fast production and major change is why era coins from 1965 attract attention today. Even though 1965 quarters are common, the rare versions tell a story about the transition from silver to modern coin metal and the challenges the mint faced during that time. Next, the 1966 Washington quarter is one of those coins that almost everyone has seen at some point, and most people never think twice about it. These quarters were made in huge numbers, and because of that, most 1966 quarters found today are worth only their face value. If you pick one up from pocket change, from an old jar, or from a collection that was handled a lot, it will usually show normal wear on Washington's cheek, scratches across the surface, and a dull or faded shine. In this average circulated condition, the coin is normally worth only 25 cents, because millions were made and most of them look the same after years of use. Even an uncirculated 1966 quarter, if it is not in perfect condition, may only be worth a few dollars. This is why people often say that most 1966 quarters have nothing special about them, and usually do not bring high prices. But the story changes completely when a 1966 quarter is found in extremely high grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. A grade like MS68 or MS68 Plus means the coin has almost no marks even under strong magnification, a bright and original shine, and almost flawless surfaces. Finding a modern clad coin from the 1960s in this condition is very rare because they were used every day and were not saved as collector pieces. That is why the highest quality 1966 quarter, graded MS68 Plus, sold for around $21,000 in a 2023 auction. This kind of sale shocks many people, because they wonder how a very common coin suddenly becomes valuable. The truth is that the value does not come from the year itself, but from the quality. When something common exists in nearly perfect condition, collectors compete for it, because they know only a handful of these top-grade pieces exist. One small scratch, even one light mark, can drop the grade and reduce the value by hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Another interesting part of the 1966 quarter story is the SMS coins, also known as special mint set coins. These were made for collectors during a time when the government temporarily stopped making proof sets. SMS coins have a cleaner and sharper look than normal circulation coins. Some have a frosted design on the portrait and a mirror-like background, something collectors call cameo, or deep cameo. These finishes make the coin look more elegant, and because fewer SMS coins were made, they can be more valuable than typical 1966 quarters. Even though they are not usually worth tens of thousands of dollars, many SMS or cameo 1966 quarters can sell for anywhere from a few $100s to a few thousand, depending on how strong the cameo effect is and how clean the surfaces appear. These coins are often kept protected from day one, so they survive in much better condition than normal quarters. Even with SMS coins, condition still matters. Some SMS coins have beautiful frost and mirror contrast, but others may have marks, smudges, or weaker strikes. When a 1966 SMS quarter has deep cameo contrast and extremely high grade, collectors tend to pay more for it. The more dramatic the frosted portrait and the shinier the background, the better the value. These coins do not reach the same high levels as the MS-68 Plus regular strike record, but they still attract attention because of their visual appeal. Besides high grade and SMS finish, errors and varieties also play a role in coin value. Error coins are pieces that were made with a mistake at the mint, and collectors love mint errors because they show something unusual that normally should not happen. For the 1966 quarter, there are a few types of errors that can bring extra value. Some people look for double die varieties, where part of the design looks doubled because the die that struck the coin shifted. On a double die coin, letters or numbers may look thicker or show shadow-like lines. These are not very common for 1966 quarters, but they can still add value if the error is clear. Another possible error is a wrong planchet strike, where the 1966 quarter was stamped on a metal disc that was meant for another coin. These are rare, but when they happen, they are easy to spot because the weight, size, or color might be off. Errors like these can raise the price from a few dollars to hundreds or sometimes more, depending on how dramatic the mistake is. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin can be. Broad-struck coins, where the coin was not properly held in place during stamping, can appear larger, stretched, or missing part of the edge. These kinds of mistakes attract collectors who enjoy unusual-looking pieces. None of these errors are extremely common, and many people who think they have one often discover that their coin is normal. This is why careful inspection, magnification, and sometimes professional grading help determine whether a coin truly has an error. Many people overlook the fact that 1966 quarters have no mint mark. This was done during a period when the U.S. Mint was dealing with a national coin shortage. To discourage people from hoarding coins, mint marks were removed, and production increased. Because so many coins were made, most 1966 quarters today are easy to find. What makes one valuable is not the year but the rarity of the condition, or the unusual mint mistake. Anyone searching for a valuable one must look closely at the shine, marks, edges, and weight. Even though most 1966 quarters are common, the few exceptional ones have become famous examples of how something ordinary can become a surprising treasure. Next, the 1967 Washington quarter is a coin that almost everyone has come across, and just like the 1965 and 1966 quarters, most people do not realize that some versions can be interesting to collectors. The U.S. Mint produced a very large number of quarters in 1967 because the country was still dealing with a coin shortage, and the government wanted to make sure there were enough coins in circulation for everyday use. Because of this, most 1967 quarters today are extremely common. When someone finds one in their pocket or in an old change jar, it usually shows wear, scratches, and a dull appearance. In this normal circulated condition, the value is simply the face value of 25 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, most 1967 quarters without anything special about them are worth only a small amount, maybe $1 or $2. This is because there are so many of them, and collectors have plenty to choose from. Unlike earlier years, the 1967 quarter has no mint mark. The Mint removed mint marks during the mid-1960s as part of an effort to reduce the hoarding of coins. People were saving coins with mint marks, so the government decided to stop using them temporarily. Without mint marks, every 1967 quarter looks the same at first glance, so collectors focus on condition, quality, and errors when determining value. For most people, it is the condition that matters most. A 1967 quarter that still has full mint luster, strong details in Washington's hair, and almost no marks can be more desirable than a worn one. But for the coin to reach the higher values that collectors talk about, it must be an extremely high grade. Only a tiny number of 1,967 quarters survive in a condition close to perfection. Grades like MS-67 or MS-68 are very rare because these coins circulated heavily. Finding one of these high-grade examples can make a big difference in value, but even then, the prices do not usually jump to the tens of thousands like some 1965 and 1966 examples. Instead, high-grade 1967 quarters often bring modest but still interesting prices for collectors who enjoy building high-quality sets. One of the most important things collectors look for in the 1967 quarter is mint errors. Because there were no proof sets made for this year and the mint was working at high speed, it is possible for unusual mistakes to occur. One type of error that collectors enjoy is the off-center strike. When a coin is stamped off-center, part of the design does not land in the correct spot, and part of the planchet is left blank. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin can become. A small off-center strike may bring only a modest premium, but a large off-center error, where maybe 40 to 60% of the design is missing, can be worth much more. These errors stand out instantly and tell a story about how the coin was made. Another type of error that sometimes shows up is the broad strike error. This happens when the coin is not held properly in the collar during striking, causing the metal to spread out more than usual. The edges may look smooth or wider, and the coin might appear stretched. These errors are interesting because they change the shape and feel of the coin. Although they do not always bring very high prices, collectors still appreciate them because they are unusual and show something that should not happen in a normal minting process. There are also cases where people look for double die varieties on 1967 quarters. A double die error happens when the die that stamps the coin has a slight shift during its creation, causing some letters or numbers to appear doubled. These can be hard to spot without magnification, and not every coin that looks doubled is a true double die. Lighting, scratches, or reflections can make a coin look doubled when it is not. True double die errors are interesting and can raise value, but they remain uncommon for this year. When a real double die is found, collectors like it because it shows a clear mistake from the mint. One of the rarest types of errors is the wrong planchet error, where a quarter is accidentally struck on a metal blank meant for another coin. These mistakes are extremely rare and usually easy to identify because the coin may weigh differently or be the wrong size. For example, if a 1967 quarter was struck on a dime planchet, the design would not fit correctly on the smaller metal disc. These dramatic errors can bring strong value because they are so unusual and often caught the moment they were discovered. However, they are not easy to find, and most people searching through circulation will never come across one. Collectors also pay attention to the overall look of the coin. Even though 1967 did not have proof coins, some examples have stronger strikes or cleaner surfaces that make them slightly more appealing. Sometimes a coin that has great luster and strong details can bring a small premium even without rare errors or high grades. But these increases in value are small, and people should not expect every shiny 1967 quarter to be worth a lot of money. The majority are still common coins. People often get excited when they see online listings showing 1967 quarters priced at thousands of dollars, but many of these listings are unrealistic or not based on real sales. For a 1967 quarter to have significant value, it needs something truly special, extremely high grade, a dramatic mint error, or an unusual feature that sets it apart from millions of others. Without these special qualities, the value remains low, even if the coin looks nice at first glance. Collectors know that the story behind the coin matters just as much as the date on it. Last, the 1968 Washington quarter is a coin many people still find in their change, and at first glance it looks like any regular quarter. Because so many of these were made, most 1968 quarters in circulation are worth only 25 cents their face value. When a coin has been used for years, it usually has small scratches, dull surfaces, and worn details. These signs of normal use keep the value at the lowest level. Even if a 1968 quarter looks a little nicer than usual, as long as it shows clear wear, the value stays close to 25 cents. Many people hope their coin is worth a lot, but the truth is that the majority are not valuable unless they have something special about them. The metal used in 1968 quarters was copper nickel clad, not silver, so they do not have the extra value older silver coins have. However, condition plays a major role. An uncirculated 1968 quarter, meaning one that still has its original mint shine and does not show signs of being carried around, can be worth more than face value. A typical uncirculated 1968 quarter in mint state can bring a few dollars, sometimes up to $10 or a little more depending on how clean and bright it looks. But even these values are considered small in the world of coin collecting. Most uncirculated coins from 1968 still fall in the low-value range because there are so many available. Things become more interesting when a 1968 quarter reaches a very high grade. Professional grading services look at the coin under magnification and check for scratches, marks, dull spots, and even tiny imperfections. When a coin is nearly perfect, it can receive grades like MS67 or MS68, and these grades make a huge difference in value. A normal 1968 quarter might be worth pocket change, but a top-graded 1968 quarter with spectacular luster and almost no flaws has sold for thousands of dollars. In fact, one special 1968 quarter without a mint mark, graded MS68, sold for about $9,400, and another 1968D quarter graded at the same level sold for around $8,812. These are real auction results, and show how much collectors are willing to pay for a coin that looks practically perfect. These high values happen because only a tiny number of 1968 quarters survived in this condition. Most were used, dropped, handled, and worn down long ago. Besides condition, the mint mark also matters. In 1968, quarters were made at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The quarters from Philadelphia have no mint mark and are the most common. Denver quarters have a small D mint mark, and their normal values are similar, usually 25 cents if circulated and a few dollars if uncirculated. The San Francisco Mint produced proof quarters for collectors, and these coins did not enter circulation. Proof coins have a mirror-like shine and look specially made. A typical 1968 proof quarter usually sells for a few dollars, often around $5 to $10, depending on how well it was stored. If the proof coin has a strong cameo or deep cameo contrast, where the portrait looks frosted against a dark, mirror background, then the value can increase. These cameo and deep cameo finishes are more appealing to collectors, and some can reach higher double-digit values if they are in perfect condition. Error coins add another layer of excitement for collectors. A 1968 quarter with a mint error can sometimes be worth much more than normal. One kind of error is an off-center strike, where part of the design appears misplaced and part of the blank planchet shows. Small off-center errors might bring an extra $10 or $20, but large off-center strikes can be worth hundreds. Another type is a broad strike error, where the coin spreads outward and loses its normal rim because it was not held properly during striking. These errors are usually worth more than face value, and the more dramatic the mistake, the higher the price. There are also wrong planchet errors, where a quarter is accidentally struck on a metal disc meant for another coin. These can be rare and very valuable. For example, if a 1968 quarter was struck on a dime planchet, the coin would be smaller, and the design would not fit correctly. These unusual mistakes can bring strong values, sometimes hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on the type of wrong planchet and the condition of the coin. However, wrong planchet errors are extremely rare, so most people will never find one. Some people look for double die varieties on 1968 quarters, which happen when the coin die shifts slightly during production, leaving doubled lines on letters or numbers. A true double die error can increase value, although 1968 double dies are not very common. Many people think they see doubling when they are really seeing reflection or wear, so magnification and experience are important. If a real double die is found, its value depends on how clear the doubling appears and how strong the coin's overall condition is. Because many online listings show unrealistic prices, some people think every old coin is valuable. But for the 1968 quarter, value comes from very specific things. The coin must be uncirculated, extremely high grade, a cameo proof, or a dramatic mint error. Without these special features, a 1968 quarter remains a common coin worth 25 cents, and only the rarest, highest grade, or error examples reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning about these rare and valuable Washington quarters from 1965 to 1968. Remember, even coins that look ordinary can sometimes be worth a lot if they're in perfect condition or have a special mint error. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss more videos about coins, collectibles, and hidden treasures. And if you have a coin you think might be valuable, Take a closer look, you might be holding something amazing.